By 2005, street racing games were everywhere. Players were causing mayhem and destruction in Burnout 3 Takedown, customizing imports to their style in the Need for Speed Underground games, and battling their way through the cutthroat race scene in Midnight Club 3. In that same year, and after the demise of its original publisher, another street racer was salvaged from the wrecker, bringing bold new ideas to the genre. That game was Juiced. My name is One Hip, and thanks for clicking on this video. As a teen in the 2000s, I remember renting this game from my local Video Easy, an Australian store much like Blockbuster, which we also had here. And I enjoyed it, but would that teenage excitement return to me as a much older man? Let's find out in my retrospective of Juiced. Let's go. Juiced was developed by British development studio Juice Games, which was formed in Warrington in northwest UK in 2003. The team was made up of former employees from then recently bankrupt Rage Software, a Liverpool-based studio. Juice Games took its name from their debut project Juiced, and in 2004, Acclaim Entertainment bought the rights to publish the game, with a release planned for later that year. However, Acclaim had filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy in September of that same year, and never released Juice and several other games that were planned. Left without a publisher, but still holding the rights, Juice Games searched for someone new to back their title. And in late 2004, the game was sold to THQ, who also funded the project for another 6 months so improvements could be made. In mid-June 2005, Juiced was released on PlayStation 2, Xbox, and PC. A mobile version was also released a month prior, and in early 2006, British software publisher Focus Multimedia would re-release the PC version as a budget title under their Essentials game series. Fun fact, Focus are also the owners of Fanatical, the online video game retailer that sells authorized game keys for services such as Steam and Xbox. The game was released to mixed reviews from critics, with praise going to the car customization options, event variety, and decent soundtrack. Noted criticisms towards Juiced included its driving lacking the polish of rivals like Burnout and Midnight Club, costly upgrades in career mode, and its mix of sim and arcade racing not hitting the mark. The PS2 and Xbox versions landed a 68 on Metacritic, while the PC version earned a 63. The game would be followed up by 2 sequels, 2006 PSP and mobile game Juiced Eliminator, and the final game in the series, 2007's Juiced 2 Hot Import Nights, the latter of which I'll be doing a retrospective on in the next video. For this retrospective, I played the PlayStation 2 version of Juiced on my PC via the PCSX2 emulator in 4K. Since there's no widescreen option, some images may look a bit stretched, but let's get into how it actually plays and looks. Juiced looks the part of an arcade racer, but the moment you hit the track, you quickly realize that the driving is average at best, and the more interesting mechanics lie elsewhere. When you boot up the game, a cool in-game intro video plays that sets the stage for Angel City, a fictional Los Angeles. You create your profile and set a crew logo. I was thinking of the Pacific Islands for some reason, so I went with a palm tree logo. You also pick your own in-game cell phone for career mode, with models from Motorola, Sharp, and Sony Ericsson. I always wanted a Sony Ericsson growing up as I loved its Walkman feature, but I sadly never owned one, so I picked their V800 flip model. You then pick your crew name, which, carrying over from my Need for Speed Carbon retrospective, was Hippers. Autosave is standard, a feature which started to become commonplace in gaming by the mid-2000s. Modes include career, where I spent the majority of my time, as well as arcade, custom race, multiplay, yes, that's what the game calls it, and online, which is no longer available natively. I'll dive into these modes in the next part of the video. There's also an options menu to adjust sound, control, and various gameplay settings, as well as extras with the usual features, such as manually saving your profile, videos, high scores, cheats, and the game's credits. Much like critics thought at the time, I also felt that Juiced's driving mechanics weren't as strong as others that I've done retrospectives on. Lower spec cars feel very twitchy, with a real chance of spinning out. But as you upgrade and tune your vehicle, it becomes smoother. Each car is either front-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive, or four-wheel drive, each with their own quirks. Races themselves are generally pretty tame thanks to the mutual respect system for rival crews, but they can get intense when you're neck and neck with your opponent near the finish line. An interesting mechanic is Juiced's tailgating system, where if you stick close behind an opponent, they'll often crack under pressure and slow down or even wipe out. An exclamation mark pops above their car when this happens. There are many cars on offer from real-world manufacturers, including Toyota, Nissan, Dodge, and many more. Handling-wise, Juiced feels like an arcade racer from the early 2000s rather than a mid-decade competitor. It reminded me of the original Burnout from 2001, which I have done a retrospective on. The driving was serviceable, but it wasn't captivating. Cars can also take damage, and you'll rack up repair bills and lose respect with rival crews, but there are no visual dents or scratches to show for it. The main event types include Circuit, Point-to-Point, Sprint, which is a series of short drag races with manual gear shifting, and Show Off, where you earn points performing stunts such as donuts, 360s, and drifts, among other maneuvers. In career mode, there are additional events such as sponsored events with larger cash prizes and unlockable prototype mods, and 2v2 crew races. Visually, the game looks fine, with Angel City having a reasonable variety of urban, rural, and coastal areas with their own routes, as well as speedways. Tracks are closed off with no NPC traffic, and while it looks okay, it never wowed me. Angel City isn't as immersive as other cities with closed-off tracks, like Olympic City and Need for Speed Underground. And these are more likely to be emulator issues, but for some tracks, the track assets wouldn't appear properly, and there were many dark spots, even though the events were in a daytime setting. It wasn't a big deal as it didn't happen regularly, but keep this in mind if you decide to emulate the game yourself. While the gameplay and visuals left me a bit lukewarm, the game's other features are where Juiced really tried to stand out, with betting, respect, and a career mode that was ambitious but repetitive. Career mode is where I spent most of my time with Juiced. It was a grind, but its unique features set it apart from other races of that era. When you start a new career, you're introduced to the Angel City scene by TK, the Urban Maulers crew leader, who loans you a car as part of the game's tutorial race. There are 7 other crew leaders that you need to impress with respect points, which are earned as you participate in events. Points can be earned by winning races, improving your lead, and winning or offering large bets against other drivers. There are also bonus points for being the best event driver, as well as for the size and value of your car collection. You can lose respect points by losing races, leads, or bets, backing out of bets with other drivers, and damaging other crews' vehicles. When you reach a certain respect point level with any crew, you unlock privileges, such as being invited to the crew's events as an attendee, followed by a participant, offers for pink slip races, and even the ability to host your own event on their turf, which must be earned by winning a head-to-head race against the crew leader. The tutorial race also introduces you to the betting and damage mechanics, where you and TK bet $2,000 each on each other to win. He also reminds you that if you damage his ride, then you have to pay the repair bill. You win the race and the $5,000 prize and pay for any damage you caused, and head to the dealership to buy your first car, featuring new and used starter vehicles with varying conditions, from damaged to excellent. If you buy a damaged car, then you need to front up for restoration repairs before you can drive it. You can change and upgrade several visual and performance parts with real-world branding, such as spoilers, front bumpers, suspension, nitrous, and exhausts, each with their own levels, from level 1 to prototype, the latter of which can only be unlocked in sponsored events. You can customize your car's paint color and even add in entertainment systems and modified sound horns to suit your personality. Brand decals can appear on your car based on the manufacturer's parts that you've installed, but you can remove them if you wish. I felt they were a nice touch, so I left them on. Career utilizes a calendar system for events, where you start the campaign on January 1st in Year 1 and work your way through the months buying and selling cars and participating in eligible events. Events marked in green on the calendar indicate that you can participate in it. Yellow ones are attend only, where you can only watch and bet on a driver in the event, and red means you don't have a car with an eligible class or make country. Empty calendar dates give you the opportunity to create your own event on your available turf. nerf, and you can also skip days if you wish. As well as attending events, you can also customize, buy and sell vehicles, gain advice on what events you should attend based on your fleet, view your career stats, manage your crew, and accept crew challenges such as perfect laps with your in-game phone. As a participant, you can bet with another driver with their preferred betting amount. Bet too low and you'll lose respect points. Bet too high and they'll refuse but admire you for your nerve. It adds an increased element of risk to each event, and you'll be asking yourself, is it worth betting on an event for more money for better cars, or should you hold on to the extra dough and use that to upgrade your existing fleet instead? Throughout the campaign, you'll also receive offers for new crew members which you can accept or decline, and you're able to let them drive for you in an event. If they drive, then you can give them strategies for more aggressive or defensive driving on the fly, which is a pretty nice touch. I did find though that the AI for my crewmates was pretty bad, and they would never win, even though my cars were usually close to the high end of horsepower in their class, so I was happy to do most of the events. When you attend an event only, you can bet on which driver will win, and you can watch the race as well. Unfortunately, you're unable to skip attend only or crew events, and you have to watch the entire thing through. And this is another reason why I didn't let my crew members drive much. I'd rather play the game than watch it. Despite unlocking events organized by different crews as I went along, I found the same 4 event types to be very repetitive after a while. I didn't finish career mode in full as it's a very long game, but I'd be happy to revisit it again once in a while. It brought elements into the genre that I found really interesting. Arcade mode is excellent. You participate in different series with hotted up cars, and when you win a series, you unlock a car that you can use in career and custom modes. Something similar to Need for Speed Most Wanted and Carbon with their challenge series modes. Custom mode is what it says on the tin. You pick an unlocked car, modify it if you wish, select an event type, the number of laps if applicable, and the track. It's simple but effective. If the features made Juiced stand out, the soundtrack gave it character, even if not every song landed. The soundtrack for Juiced is a mix of hip-hop, electronica, and rock, which was standard for many racing games at that time. Highlights for me included Right Now by Wordsmith, Clubfoot by Kasabian, We Got the Beat by Talib Kweli, and Passion by Gat Decor. Like critics at the time, I also feel that the soundtrack is decent, but it isn't memorable like others. I experienced very occasional audio stuttering during some events, but like the visual issues I mentioned earlier, it's almost certainly an emulator problem. Besides this, the sounds of speeding through downtown or through a speedway sound fine. Juiced never reached the heights of its rivals, but its mechanics left a mark. Juiced released into a crowded 2005 street racing scene, and while it didn't match the polish or cultural impact of games like Burnout 3 or Need for Speed Underground 2, it dared to experiment. The respect system, betting, and damage mechanics gave it an identity that separated it from being just another racer. But its shortcomings like twitchy handling, repetitive events, and a presentation that couldn't quite keep up with its rivals meant it was remembered more as an interesting entry rather than a genre-defining racer. It was serviceable, sometimes fun, but rarely thrilling. Even so, Juiced holds a place as a bold attempt to capture the culture around racing, not just the racing itself, and for that, it still deserves a look back. Thanks so much for watching. Did you play Juiced back in the day? What are your memories of the game? Let me know in the comments. I'll be back next week for a retrospective on Juiced's sequel, Juiced 2 Hot Import Nights. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on the next retrospective, and any current and future video essays. I'll also have videos on Burnout and Need for Speed games if you're keen on seeing my thoughts on other 2000s racing games. I'll leave playlists in today's end screen. Thank you also to my current channel members for your extra support, and if you want to join them, there are links to this as well as my Ko-fi page. They're all in the video description. My name is OneHip, and you have a good one. Bye!